Today you're going to watch 3 videos about earthquakes and tsunamis. Be active learners, engaged so that you will be able to participate in the discussion section. While you watch the videos, this is what you need to do. You're going to open up your workbook to the next blank piece of notes page in your workbook. You're going to write 2 things you learned from each video. All right, then you need to be prepared to share when you come to the discussion station. In this video, it's titled, What is an Earthquake? You need to pay attention to where the focus and epicenter are within an earthquake. You also need to pay attention to which scale they use now to measure earthquakes.
Hi, I'm Emerald Robinson, and in this What Is video, we're going to examine earthquakes. An earthquake is an event in which the earth suddenly shakes, trembles, or rocks. Earthquakes are very common. About 900,000 happen worldwide every year. To understand how an earthquake happens, we need to review plate tectonics. Geologists think that the top layers of the earth, called the crust and the mantle, are broken into large pieces or plates. The places where these plates meet are called faults and are where most earthquakes occur. This is because tectonic plates move very slowly at a rate of about 1 to 2 inches per year. When one plate is pushed beneath another, or when 2 plates move alongside of one another, friction can cause them to become stuck together. When the force that moves the plates is enough to overcome the force holding them together, the plates can break apart suddenly, sending shock waves through the earth. The place where the earthquake is actually generated is often hundreds of feet below the surface, and is called the quake's focus. The point on the surface of the earth directly above the focus is called its epicenter, and usually is where the earthquake is the strongest and where most damage occurs. Seismologists, scientists who study and try to predict earthquakes, used to use the Richter scale to compare the size of earthquakes. But since 1979, the more precise moment magnitude scale has been used to measure the strength of the waves that move through the earth during an earthquake. The stronger the quake, the higher the number. The most severe earthquake on the MMS earned a 9.5. Earthquakes are changing the face of our planet one shake, rattle, and quake at a time, so engineers must create buildings able to withstand their force, while scientists become more accurate at predicting them.
Now that you've seen the entire video, be sure you write 2 things you learned from the video, What is an Earthquake? If you did not take any notes, hit pause right now. Now you're going to watch the video Earthquakes 101. You're going to take 2 notes of 2 new things you learned from the video. They may not be repeats of what you wrote from What is an Earthquake video.
April 18, 1906, California's San Andreas Fault snaps, shaking San Francisco for nearly 60 terrifying seconds. When the trembling stops, the disaster is only beginning. Gas lines rupture, setting off massive fires. Some 700 people die. Most of the city is reduced to ruins. This trembling of the ground, caused when masses of rock suddenly shift below the Earth's surface, is called an earthquake. Hundreds of little earthquakes shake the planet every day, but most pass unnoticed. They usually occur along the boundaries of the thin plates that cover the Earth like an eggshell. Driven by the heat deep within the Earth's core, the plates grind against each other along lines called faults. When the plate's motion is blocked, stress builds up. Finally, the fault gives way. The released energy races through the Earth in the form of seismic waves. Scientists record these waves on a device called a seismograph. These zigzag lines show the strength of various seismic waves. Using the lines, scientists grade earthquakes on the Richter scale. For a quake to measure 1 number higher on the Richter scale, it must release about 30 times as much energy as the number below it. Every year, about 100,000 earthquakes rumble through the ground hard enough for people to feel them. Of these, only about 1,000 are strong enough to damage property. But a powerful earthquake can be devastating. On average, about 10,000 people die each year as a result of earthquakes. The greatest recorded earthquake ever to hit North America measured a massive 9.2. The tremor struck Alaska on March 28, 1964. A camera on board a ship docked in Valdez recorded the draining of the entire harbor as a chasm opened up on the sea floor. There's no stopping the surface of the Earth from changing and moving, so engineers are focusing on ways to create better buildings, highways, and bridges, structures that will remain safe and stay in one piece the next time the Earth begins to shake.
Now make sure you took 2 notes about things you learned that were new from the video Earthquakes 101. Please hit pause if you have not written your 2 pieces of information. People that live in earthquake-prone areas use this 3 steps to stay safe during an earthquake. They drop, they cover themselves by like a table, and they hold on. Obviously, if there's no table for you to get under or even a desk, you would go into the door jamb because it's got the extra supports around it. Now you're going to watch the video Tsunami 101. Yet again, you're going to write down 2 pieces of information that you learned that was new. It cannot be a repeat from What is an Earthquake video or Earthquakes 101 video. It has to be new.
The warnings are few. The signs are sudden. The tide goes into reverse. A thunderous roar fills the air, and then it strikes. And when it is over, nothing is left. A tsunami. The word in Japanese means harbor wave. Japan has been hit by many tsunamis in its history as a result of its location. It lies across the edges of 4 tectonic plates, where most earthquakes, the principal cause of tsunamis, are born. When 2 tectonic plates push together, the resulting earthquake sends an enormous burst of energy up through the ocean, displacing enormous quantities of water. A series of waves expands in all directions. In deep water, these waves travel fast, up to 500 miles an hour, but only reach a height of a few feet. A passing ship might not even notice. But as the waves enter shallow waters, friction with the ocean floor lowers the wave's speed and raises their height until at landfall they can engulf a 10-story building. Unlike ordinary waves, a tsunami wave doesn't crest and break. Instead, it advances like a wall of water that crashes over the coastline and everything in its way, reaching even as far as a mile inland. More damage is caused when the wave recedes, dragging everything in it back underwater. And most tsunamis have multiple waves, each arriving anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes after the first strike, just when survivors think the danger is over. The deadliest tsunami ever recorded occurred in December of 2004. An earthquake off the coast of Indonesia triggered a tsunami that surged across the Indian Ocean and reached as far as the coast of Africa. Whole sections of cities were destroyed. More than 200,000 people died. Most had no way of being warned. " 5,000 miles away, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center in Honolulu is on call 24 hours a day to prevent a similar tragedy from happening in the United States. Scientists monitor tremors and quakes from around the globe. If a quake big enough to cause a tsunami occurs, it is their job to alert the coastlines in the tsunami's path. The advice is simple. Move to higher ground, wait for news that the tsunami has passed, and be ready to deal with the ruins left in its wake.
Now, what is very interesting about tsunamis is animals actually can sense a tsunami before the people know it's coming. It was around Christmas time a few years ago, and a little girl was riding on an elephant in Thailand, which that's what the people have on the beach to kind of entertain the tourists. And the little girl rode the elephant every morning. And one morning, she was on the elephant, and he had a handler to make sure it was safe. And the elephant just suddenly turned from the beach and started running into the forest that was nearby. And what caused that is the elephant could feel the earthquake vibrations in the ground, even though the people couldn't. And he actually saved that little girl's life because very shortly thereafter, the tsunami wave hit the city and pretty much destroyed everything. So animals actually can sense some of these things before even the people or the sensors do. So now hit pause if you have not already taken your 2 notes. Do so now and be prepared to share them with the group. Now on Schoology, you're going to hit submit assignment and you are going to compare and contrast the 3 videos. What is an earthquake? Earthquakes 101 and Tsunamis 101. Be sure to include specific details from the videos and explanations in your response to receive full credit. If you need to rewatch any of the videos, do so now in order to get full credit on that submission.